Hi, welcome to CIBC Nirman. I'm Jayashree Kurup. I'm editor CIBC Nirman, and I have with me Aaroh Swarup. He's the international head of Indian Society for Trenchless Technologies. Thanks for joining us, Aaroh. Aaroh, we have heard about microtunneling, trenchless technologies over the last week or so, especially in light of the fact that it was extremely successful in the Uttarkashi rescue. Uh, what is this technology? Would you like to enlighten us about a little bit about this?
When we are dealing with construction below the ground, we face an n number of other challenges that already exist below the ground. For example, someone else might have laid some other structure which is already present there, or the ground conditions are not stable enough, which is fairly common given that we have a very diverse subsurface conditions throughout our country. So when we are talking about trenchless technology in general, it is basically implementation of multiple sectors of different types of technologies in order to observe what's going on below the ground and in order to make space to construct new utilities below the ground or at least fix them if they are getting damaged. What's going on right now in Uttarkashi is a two-phase part of trenchless technology, where first phase was subsurface utility engineering, or the way to look below the ground is basically in order to detect where the actual cave-in occurred and locate where these people were actually trapped. And now talking about the biggest hero, which is microtunneling in this case. Microtunneling in comparison is basically construction of a tunnel with more precise and more specialized equipment which is used remotely. When I say remotely, it implies that the person who's operating the MTBM or the micro tunnel boring machine, that person stays out of the shaft from where the microtunneling machine enters, and then he moves, guides, as well as rotates the microtunneling machine, which helps in breaking down of harder or rougher surfaces that are below the ground. It's more precise, causes less disturbances, and is way more safer because the person who's guiding, who's operating the device, is out of the pit.
Yeah, what is the technology that it uses? It is remote. Is there some laser involved? And also, when the surface is very unstable, uh, especially in disaster sites, how does the machine guide whatever has to go? Either the pipe in this case, or the endoscopic cameras, and so on. How does the machine guide it?
The first part is when we are talking about guidance, it's typically a laser guided system. So even a minute deviation of a degree or half a degree is detected or at least is managed so that the machine turns in an appropriate way, in the desired way. The other part is actually the rotation of the cutter head. So if basically my MTBM has a cutter head which rotates and it abrases the surface within your subsurface below the ground, and once the abrasion occurs, that helps in breaking down. Along with it, there are jets of water streams which help in breakdown of all of these heavy whatever particles that are present below the soil in the ground level. Those particles are broken down by the combined action of your abrasion along with jetting. And once that jetting is completed, it is pulled out using a slurry pipe and a slurry motor so that your excavation becomes clearer and clearer. The good part of having a precise guidance system, a laser guided system, is that it does not bother any surrounding activity, any surrounding facility. For example, I can quote one of these projects that have been done recently here in Kolkata, for Kolkata Municipal Corporation, where microtunneling was used, and it was so precisely, so well executed that it's amazing. We had foundation for a metro pillar, and the tunnel was supposed to the pipe was supposed to pass by a gap of 300 mm. So when we are talking about this closer gap, there will always be vibrations that do transfer. Had it been a very, what do you call it, a traditional machine, because those machines are slightly like less accurate when it comes to guidance, and are definitely they are bigger, so we have lesser precision in terms of our pipe diameter which is to be installed, or the whole diameter which is to be set up.
How big are these microtunneling boring machines? And also, what is the cost involved?
This is the question. This is the part where Trenchless technology takes a little bit of hit when we are talking about the cost of these equipment. Since these equipment happen to be very specialized and a very nuanced kind of equipment, these these machines, they are typically, they become the most expensive part of the project. But at the same time, when we are talking about execution using these machine, the social costs, the construction cost, and the standard operation cost becomes way less. Let's talk in the numbers where like these things can make up a bit more sense. Typically what happens when we are employing microtunneling in a contract, what happens is it takes around 10% or sometimes more than 10%, but not more than 15% of the contract value. And at the same time, what happens is that the value that it offers is very much better, much better in perspectives of social cost, in perspective of in perspective of cost to the environment, cost to the damage to the local authorities. It saves a lot of costs on those backgrounds, on those grounds. And once again, I would like to iterate before we talk about the costs. The thing is that it's a standard thing throughout the construction industry that no two projects can have this can have everything as same. So when it comes to microtunneling projects, no two microtunneling sites can be exactly 100% same. So often what happens is the diameter which is, they are typically bought in diameter size, and the diameter which is used in one project may not be applicable to a diameter which is used in another project. So that's where the cost and variation these occur, and they are typically developed on demand with the manufacturing companies that that do the development. There are couple of them in Germany and a couple of them in China. There's Chinese versions of microtunneling machine as well. It can range between 6 inches. It can start from 6 inches, as small as 6 inches, all the way through uh, let's say meters, 3 or 4 meters dia.
Do we have enough people who are skilled in deploying these machines?
That is the thing, that is where INDSCT comes into play. The thing is that we as INDSCT want people to use trenchless technology, and we would like people to use it in the right fashion. The trouble these days that we are having, the biggest trouble that we are having, is unskilled people sitting on the steering of these machines. And god god forbid, the incidents that we see, they're just more and more horrible that are popping out. Microtunneling is one sector of trenchless technology that we are talking about when we are talking about unskilled labor operating, unskilled operators working on machines. But the essential part throughout the entire trenchless realm is that learning just one equipment, or operating just one equipment, should not qualify someone to use it again and again. That is why we insist here in INDSCT that one should at least get certified or get tested to know whether they are fit to operate these machines or not.
So who imparts the training here?
The training the training is a very different phased situation. Oftentimes the companies that the contractors that are currently executing these projects, these are the people, they typically train their own operators, but we have external training agencies, even INDSCT. We do the training as well, along with many other people, along with many other agencies. For example, there are fixed programs that also go around the globe, where people come and learn from there. But the biggest challenge is, how do we separate the people who have learned versus who just sat on the steering wheel? So that's why it is very essential that we have a certain recognition system or a certification system, which INDSCT has brought in the last couple of years. We have certified we actually have certified the team which is in Uttarkashi right now with the rescue efforts that is executing the rescue efforts in Uttarkashi. So that is where, like, the person who know the stuff should do the stuff.
And today, what is the volume of people who are coming forward to learn? And is it the project companies that sponsor them, or are people learning it on their own so that they can get jobs?
Typically, it's the project companies that sponsor them. Basically, the certification is observed as a recognition for these people. The operators, they are they are way, like, they are skilled laborers, and in this case they are specialized skilled laborers. When we are talking about these cases, the training process itself becomes a little more expensive, because we are not just talking about making a dry run on the machine. We have to train them in a situation where we have a simulation going on, or we have a machine which is available. These things are fairly difficult to manage, and that is why when we talk about training, the training part is where we have the right resources to train them. We don't want to give them a bookish part and then tell them that, okay, you are fit to run the machine. The idea of a training should be that you either know this stuff and you can manage this stuff in the right executable fashion. If you cannot do this, you should at least undergo this training again, in order to make sure that you pass this test, so that you are fit to run this machine again.
Help us understand which are the sectors where you see the most usage of trenchless technologies.
So this is actually a very beautiful question, because now I can discuss a little bit more about trenchless technology. The parts that right now we have been discussing are the part is actually just one section of trenchless technology, which is the new construction part. We are constructing new utilities. The second part of trenchless technology is actually how do we manage, or how do we keep a record of those technologies, which is called the asset management, buried asset management. And the third part is the renewal or rehabilitation of the existing buried assets. So when we are talking about sectors who are dealing with our most prominent, the most four prominent sectors are water and sewer. India India having one of the oldest infrastructures in our most populated cities, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Bangalore. These cities happen to have one of the oldest infrastructures, and these infrastructures are probably older than 50 years or more. As it comes to light, these infrastructures don't have a useful life beyond 50 years, some case, if we are lucky, 100 years. But beyond that, the remaining useful life seems to be almost nil. So that's where our rehabilitation sector comes into play. Now we are talking about the other parts. For example, right now there's a major oil and gas sector movement going on for Trenchless Technology. A lot of projects currently being executed in the northeastern part of our country. especially when we are talking about crossing of rivers, Brahmaputra River, your what do you call it? Brahmaputra River, your not Ganges, actually, there's another river. Basically, in Northeast, a lot of rivers are right now being crossed. And the whole idea for those executions is that open cut cannot be possible when we are talking about river crossings. Highways, maybe highway crossing, it may be possible, but when we are talking about river crossing, it's better to go trenchless. That's why the other part of when we like when we were talking about the new construction part and microtunneling being only one part, there's another small part. Another, well, I'm saying small as a very uh, uh, unique statement for it, but HDD is another industry, horizontal directional drilling, which is a booming business currently in Trenchless Technology. And what it does is it's like it's employed in all of these sectors yet again and again. The other sector that we were talking about is fiber optics, or the telecom cables. Telecom is another sector which was heavily dependent, which is still a heavily dependent sector when it comes to getting the fiber optic cables laid. When we are talking about fiber optics cable laid, it's more focused towards city terms. Right now, the urban centers, your urban cities such as Delhi, Mumbai, even the not only Delhi. When we are talking about Delhi, I wanted to iterate more on the NCR region. The entire NCR is so heavily populated and so densely road packed that you cannot cut the roads. You cannot practically cut the ground, put the lay the pipe or lay the cable, and then backfill it, because the amount of traffic disruption that we are talking about is in the scale of $1 million, because there's a lot of traffic commute that goes through and back and fro in the entire NCR.
And of course, it will be very useful when it comes to disaster management, right? Locating, identifying, reaching. These are all things that you would use trenchless technologies for, right?
100%. So when we are talking about disaster, now right now it's post disaster action. Right now we are trying to mitigate any further losses or any further damage to those people in the tunnel. What we are trying to execute throughout here is we are trying to make sure that these people get out of there safely without disturbing this already unsafe excavation that was being executed. Trenchless technology is actually the way to go. And before trenchless technology, I that is where like we constantly reiterate that we should know what's in the ground, what is the ground conditions, and that is why the subsurface utility engineering part becomes a very essential play. And then only we should have the right strategy for executing such projects.
Thank you so much, Aaroh, for enlightening us. It's an important subject. It's an important thing that, and a lot of people have expressed the interest in knowing what this technology is all about, especially in light of the disaster and its mitigation in Uttarkashi. Thank you so much.
As a matter of fact, before we conclude this, I actually wanted to iterate that we are hosting an event in Chennai, Nordic India Show, which is basically a conference focused towards the education of people towards these techniques, these technologies. We would like to invite everyone who's viewing this video to join us and definitely get some value out of the education that we are offering.
Yes, and for those of them who cannot make it, CIDC Nirman will be covering this and will definitely like to take this forward. Thank you, Aaroh.